Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Happy Musicians Podcast, where it's not about getting the gig, it's about enjoying the gig. I'm your host, Tanner Guss, and I'm joined this week by the drummer, Zach Mama. Zach has this wonderful, holistic approach to living life. Everything he does feeds into the other things that he's pursuing. The things he learns, cooking and traveling, directly affect how he plays music, and his approach to playing music directly affects how he lives his life. It's amazing. It's something I've definitely tried to emulate since I had this conversation, and I think you can take a lot away from it. He shares so much good stuff, and honestly, this is just one of those interviews where I don't have much to say. I'm just taking it all in. I offer a contemplative yeah every now and then and a few of my own thoughts, but for the most part, I'm just along for the ride. There's really just so many nuggets of information, and I just want to get to it as soon as possible. So, thanks for being here, and please welcome Zach Mama.
Where's Jacob's School of Music? Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's coming through. We're good.
Bonjour.
Yeah, Jacobs is in Indiana. It's in Bloomington, which is like an hour south of Indianapolis.
Okay. That's where you went to college?
Yeah, I was my undergrad.
And then you did something for your master's?
No, I haven't done my master's yet, actually.
Okay.
So I just want to play for a few years and then maybe come back to it, you know?
I don't have anything, so I don't know.
Oh, you didn't do any college?
I tried, but I don't like being in school for music.
Huh.
So,
Cool.
Yeah. I went to American School of Music in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And after 2.5 years, I had the opportunity to move to Philly.
Yeah.
And I had to quit school to go. And I just had a 1-year training program with a teacher there.
Who's the teacher?
His name was Sam Rottenberg, but you would know his student, Justin Faulkner.
Yeah.
And that's thanks to Justin that I went there, because he introduced me to him. And then Sam, we basically created that program at school just for me to go there for a year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, at the University of the Arts in Philly. And then I wanted to apply to school, but I saw the price. And I was like, how many gigs do I need to pay for that? Because in Philly, at this school, they don't really have help for like foreign students. Mm-hmm. They would have like presidential scholarship, but you still have to find $15,000 if you have this presidential scholarship.
Yeah.
So I thought, how many $50 gigs do you need to play to pay that tuition? You know, $15,000. Even if I get the best scholarship, right?
Yeah.
You have $60,000 to pay at the end if you do 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
$60,000. It's insane, you know? And in a European mind, and school is free in Europe, it's like maybe $2,000 a year. That's what I paid for school, like at $1,200 a year.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, wow, it's so expensive. You know? And here it's like, it doesn't make sense because that's not, I don't think that's what music is about.
The way it's taught in classrooms, you mean?
Yeah, you have to seek the information, but not pay that much thinking you're going to get it, right? Okay. To me, it's more about finding the people who have the information than going to a place where they give you information that might not speak to you. But I don't have this experience of going to school.
Yeah.
I went to school in Paris for jazz, the American School of Modern Music, but I was not aware of anything yet. And it just got me lost more, you know?
Going to school kind of got you more confused?
Yeah.
Because you got information you weren't ready for?
Or everybody was competing. And I was like, man, it's music. Why are you trying to do something better or have the best of this or show me that you practice more or this? I was more into people who could play naturally. Mm. And most of them, man, when I asked them questions, like, I don't know, man. I've just been playing.
Right.
And to me, it made no sense to go to school to play like them if those people were not in school. You know? But again, it takes time to realize why I did all that, you know. But looking back, I know that I wouldn't go to a Chinese school to learn Chinese. I would go to China, you know.
Yeah, so you just made the decision to go to the source.
I don't know if I made a decision, but that's what, when I look back at it,
Okay.
this is what happened. I think I felt something. And I keep feeling it, you know, even moving to New Orleans from New York, because I went to Philly for 3 years, then New York for 3 years. And then even in New York, I thought, man, there's something missing. I'm missing the roots, you know? Mm. So being here, I'm realizing all the stuff that I've been looking for in New York and in Philly and in Paris before. Because it was born here, right? The music, whether they call it jazz or whatever, it was born here, you know? And when you listen to people here, they know about the history because they were taught by the people who were taught by the people who created it.
Yeah.
You know? So it's a very different way of playing than in New York, but it's like accents, you know? In the States, you travel, oh, this guy has an accent from there, and he has an accent from there. Mm-hmm. Oh, he speaks slower, yeah. When I went to Chicago the first time, after being in New York, people were speaking so slowly. And I thought, wow, it's the same with playing, you know? In New York, people play fast because life goes really fast there. Mm-hmm. And you come here, and so the up-tempo here is like half the BPM than of the up-tempos in New York, you know? But that's because life is slower here, you know? So just going through all this, you understand why you did what you did. Although I was not thinking. I left France when I was 21, so I was not thinking I'm going to go do all this to realize that. No, it's once you realize something that you're like, oh, it comes from doing all this, right? Mm-hmm. So you can sum it up, but you have to go through the process to make the realization and then to look back and say, that's why I did that.
Right. So you don't necessarily have the end goal planned out.
No, my goal is just, I don't have a goal. It's just a trajectory, right?
And can you kind of define more what that trajectory is?
Yeah, it's getting better at doing what you love. So I love drums, which means I want to play well. Play well, what does that mean? It's understanding where the drums come from, right? Where do they come from? You know? Mm-hmm. Well, the drum set itself is about 100 or 110 years old. And it was created in the States. And then you understand how they were playing it at first. There was a bass drummer. There was a snare drummer. And where do they still do that? In New Orleans, right? So you come back to this and you understand that there's a very specific role for each part of the drum. And then it became one instrument, right? But if you don't understand the different roles of the different parts of your body, then you're missing some information, you know? Right. So it was just for me to get better. But to get better at something and really, in a true way, you have to investigate, you know? Mm-hmm. And so to investigate, you have to talk to the people you admire. But why do you admire? Because they play the way you would like to play. Or their playing speaks to you in a way that nobody else's does. Right. Right? When I saw Justin Faulkner play, for example, the first time was in 2011. And I didn't know what was going on. It was with Kurt Rosenwinkel. But it was amazing. I was moved, you know? And I don't think you need to understand something if it's true. You will know it, you know? Yeah. So I didn't speak the language, but I understood what was going on. Something special when he was playing. For me. Not everybody in that room moved to Philly after seeing him play, right? Right. But I did because I had no choice, you know?
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Well, that you followed through with moving across the country. I mean, well, across the world, and then even getting there and moving to different cities.
Yeah, I consider myself lucky because, I used to think like, oh, I'm not lucky. I wasn't born in Philly. I wasn't raised like that. I cannot play like this. But I realized I moved there, I'm so lucky that I was exposed to it at 19 rather than never, because I was going to quit playing. I was not inspired by anybody in Paris. Older drummers were not very... They're not mean, but they have their idea of how it works. You get older, you get respect,
Mm-hmm.
But in the States, they're like, if you try, you get respect, It's more about trying here. Like, come on, even the kids play at church,
Yeah.
In France, it would be, no, you have to be 40 to be good,
Yeah, it's not so much based on the playing as much as how long you've been going at it. That's definitely maybe comes up sometimes here, but if you can really play, you can get past that hurdle.
Yes. And I just wanted to be encouraged to play more, not to tell me, wait, it will come. No, it doesn't come if you don't do it. You just have to do it. So being here, not knowing what I was doing after moving to Philly, I played at church, played at jazz clubs, different settings, but I don't know what was going on really, because it's not my culture. I had to learn English at the same time, because I knew English from the books. But once you talk with people, it's like you learn music from the books, but once you have to play in front of people, with other people, it's different.
Mm-hmm. Was that experience of having to speak English in the States, like with other native speakers, similar to the experience of having played jazz in Europe and then showing up in Philly and playing
it's not the same language.
Right.
And it's not the same application, it's not the same context, but it just teaches you about being patient within the music too. Because, so you were telling me in your text, well, how do you know when, or how do you manage with playing less, or not trying to be flashy or anything?
Mm-hmm.
But when you learn another language, like French, for example, are you going to say elephant just because you learned the word, or are you going to wait for an elephant to walk by,
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do with music, is whatever I realized, use it in context. But the older I grow, the more I realize things. So the more meaningful it becomes whenever I play something. Because instead of starting something from what I think should happen, just listening to what's going on and just be in that thing, that's real music.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying that awareness and level of listening and intent has come from just getting older and more maybe mature about it and a deeper understanding? Or is it something that you think if you have those mindsets activated that you could do early in your career?
Well, I think the only thing is, the more mature you are in life, the more you can apply it to everything, not just music, Like Bruce Lee was saying in an interview I watched yesterday, he's trying to get his movements to be intentional, more precise, more intentional, faster, stronger, and truer. But you can do that with music too. Everything you think, your body does it, while everything you hear, your instrument plays it.
Yeah.
Or you play it because you're the instrument,
Mm-hmm.
But the instrument is the vehicle for you to express what you hear. But if you don't hear anything, you're just gonna try stuff and it's gonna sound weird. Just like try to speak French right now. How far can you go, right?
Right.
But you're able to. You can make sounds, right? So it's the same with your instrument at first. I made a sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was not intentional.
Yeah.
Just pressed anything. I just cannot play what I just played because I don't remember.
Mm.
But it's so important to realize that everything you do it slow and analyze why you're doing it. You know, because then you're realizing if I go slower, I have time to think about what I'm playing more. And do I need to play more than what I'm doing right now? So it's the space between the notes that matters to me more now than before. Before I was impressed by speed, volume, but there's no depth to that because it's going to always reach the same thing. It's going to be loud and fast.
Yeah.
But then if you're able to be patient within that and explore what your voice is, of course, if the context is calling for loud and fast, like, you know, you're on a train, there's a car on fire, yes, you have to shout and to run, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're on the beach, there's nobody, you're not going to shout and run out of nowhere. So the context has to call for that. So that's what I try to do in music and on drums. I'm not trying to hide anything or to prove anything or to show anything or to lie. I'm just trying to see what the context is. If we're playing a ballad, yes, I'm probably going to play brushes. If I play on the right, might just play quarter notes or half notes. But depends on the context, because if the song doesn't call for brushes, if it's my choice to play brushes against what everybody would want to hear, or against myself, you know, I can choose that because I know what it's gonna sound like.
Right.
You know, sometimes I play things that I know this person is not gonna like, but the context called for it.
Mm-hmm. And do you think making these kind of decisions is a result of listening as much as you can and knowing the tradition of the music so that you know the right decisions to make in the moment, and so you can have that context?
There's no right decision.
Okay.
There's decisions, you know?
Yeah.
It's like when you go to the grocery store, what is the right decision to make? What are you going to buy? What do you want to eat, you know?
Mm.
So you're going to feel different every day, right? You're not going to eat pizza every day. And it's not because you ate pizza yesterday that you want to eat pizza again. So you might want to play the same song, but differently the day after.
Yeah.
It's just how you feel that day that matters. You know? Otherwise, you're not playing music. You're just making sound that you remember. You know?
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does. So maybe, yeah, there are no right and wrong decisions, but there are maybe uninformed or like,
yeah, but
for instance, if we went with the grocery thing, if you were in the mood for just like donuts
right.
and stuff all the time, like you might make that decision, but I guess it's not the wrong decision, but it's maybe an unhealthy decision. And there are maybe similar decisions you can make that maybe that's not quote unquote a wrong decision, but the music didn't necessarily call for it.
Right. That's not how I would present it. For example, one day somebody told me, can you make a vinaigrette for the salad? I was like, yeah, how much? It was like, well, for a bowl. He said for a bowl, like for a bowl of salad. Said that's how much. Mm-hmm. But I made a vinaigrette that was the whole bowl. I thought that's what he meant, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's my interpretation of the information that was wrong, not what he said, right? So in music, if you're not informed, if you haven't checked out enough music, yes, you're gonna do what I did. You're gonna do a whole bowl of vinaigrette, you know?
Yeah.
But that made them laugh. So you might play something that is wrong, how you say it. You would say wrong, but can be, okay, this guy is unexperienced. I don't think it's wrong because that's all you can play at that time. You know, the wrong thing would be to play what your body tells you instead of what you're hearing.
Yeah.
But if it's what you're hearing, you know, you can't change that.
I like that. So you're kind of coming from the mindset that you shouldn't question whatever it is that you're hearing that you should do. You should just make that decision without questioning it on the bandstand because that's what was true to you in the moment.
Yeah. Well, if the telephone rings, what do you do?
Yeah.
Pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all you have to do. If you hear something, just do it, you know?
Yeah.
And then later, if you record yourself, just listen back to it. But it's going to take 4 years to understand what you did. I listened to recordings of me from 4 years ago. And back then I used to record myself and listen the next day and take notes. But it makes no sense. It's like planting tomatoes, the grains or whatever, and expecting something the day after. It's not going to grow that fast. So I cannot analyze it yet, you know?
Right.
I'm not ready. My ear is not ready to analyze what I did the day before.
Yeah, because your ear's essentially the same as it was yesterday still.
But now I listen back to it and I think, oh, that day I sounded good. Oh, that day I didn't sound good. Now why? How was I thinking? Well, it's anytime I'm not thinking about anything and I'm just singing the melody, but truly singing it, not playing it, but singing it, making it sound better. It doesn't mean playing each note on the drum. It means everything you do around it is to make the melody come out more beautifully. But it doesn't mean playing it. I used to think it meant playing the rhythm of the melody. But that is too strict. It's like repeating, somebody is telling you a beautiful poem and you're just saying the same words at the same time. How can you make that, what that person is saying, more beautiful? So sometimes it comes from playing around it, playing with it, playing without it, not doing anything, but just knowing it where it is. Right? And that's very hard to do. But that's when I sound good. It's because I realized, oh, I made the music. I didn't make the music sound bad this time because of my bad decisions. But again, there are no bad decisions. I would say the bad decisions is when you're not focusing on the melody or the song. If you're focusing on chops or flashy stuff that makes you feel more comfortable because, yeah, I practice that and I want everybody to hear what I can do. That's wrong. That's wrong because you don't go to Paris to be the best French speaker. Nobody cares. Seriously, nobody cares. Oh, wow, he speaks amazingly. You should listen to him. No, it's the story that matters, not how you play.
Yeah.
So if you realize it's a language, you have to focus on the message, not really the messenger. Although you are the messenger. But the most important thing is the message, and you have to get out of the way of the message. And that's what I try to do by not doing anything and just letting the music speak.
Are there things that you've done to grow as a person, and maybe that's helped you grow as a player, so that you can get out of the way of the message of the music and let it flow better? Are there like things that maybe meditation or other practices that have helped you do that? Or certain mindsets that you employ, or even something as simple as taking a breath?
Listening to all the styles of music is very humbling because as soon as you think you know something about one thing, boom, there are other rules. Oh, wow, but I was getting good at this, and everything is connected. So once you realize all the styles are connected, yeah, everything is basically connected. So I don't try to do anything to yeah, I don't have anything in particular. Everything I do helps me get better at everything.
Okay.
So that's why, like, all styles are connected, and everything I do in my life is connected to me getting better at everything.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do with cooking, for example. I love to cook, but I'll go to the store and just try to see what's fresh that day, because they have like a lot of vegetables. And I see what's fresh that day. They don't never have the same things. And I try to go without anything in mind. I just go there. And 3 days ago, I got summer squash. Why did I get summer squash? Because they never had it, and I've never cooked it. So I just picked it up. It's $3, maybe $2. Picked it up. Don't know what I'm gonna do with it. And then I go home and I Google summer squash recipes, right? And I try to see what they're doing, but I don't have the same ingredients. I only have summer squash. Some say, oh, summer squash with Parmesan on it. But I take a little bit from different recipes and I make my own. Mm-hmm. And luckily, it wasn't too bad. But now that I know what it tastes like, I'm able to manipulate it in my head so that next time I get summer squash, I know what to combine it with.
Right.
Right? And then I can do variations. Like I do vegetable quiche, you know? Mm-hmm. But now I can incorporate summer squash in that, you know?
Yeah.
Because I would only use zucchini in that quiche. But now I'm thinking, yeah, but there's summer squash. I can change that. It's kind of the same, you know, not too flashy flavor. And so, yeah, getting better at everything just helps you get better at music.
Yeah.
But music doesn't come from music. Music comes from life. So if you're not getting better at life, it's going to take a while for you to get better at music. And if you only get better at music, maybe you're not getting better at life. So maybe a lot of great musicians have very bad health problems because they're not taking care of that part. Mm-hmm. You know? So it's important to connect everything and to just know that everything is connected. And if you're doing well at everything, you'll be fine. But yeah, it shouldn't serve an ego, or you shouldn't be afraid or anything. Just finding your voice takes a long time, and still I'm searching, you know? And it's the same thing with learning English. I'm still learning new words to be able to express myself better. You know? It's just very important to search.
Yeah. Do you ever... Well, I guess I love everything you said. I love how holistic your view of life is and how everything's feeding into itself. And it does take a long time. And I'm just kind of curious if you ever get frustrated at the pace that you're going. If you're like, I wish I was farther along the journey. I wish I was making progress faster. Or like, have you struggled with that in the past? Or are you at a place now where you can accept your progress?
Well, how old are you right now?
22.
22. Can you be 24 right now?
I cannot.
Yeah. So only time, you know? There's nothing you can do about it. You're not where you were 10 years ago. Right? When you were 12. How were you already playing drums?
Yeah.
At what level, you know?
Right.
What about 32? Not going to be in the same place. And that's... Are you frustrated about not being 24? You know, it'd be crazy if I was frustrated about being where I am, because I'm very happy where I am, because I'm here, you know?
Yeah.
And it's very important to just have set goals, but just be a seeker. Just, I'm very happy where I am, because the more I discover, the more I know there's to discover. And you're not actually discovering anything, because everybody Everything that you're trying to discover on the drums has been discovered and played already. Now what you can do with it is manipulate the information and take the pieces you want for you to use, you know?
Mm-hmm.
As tools.
Yeah.
Who discovered the sun? You know? It's for everybody. Right?
Yeah.
So don't get frustrated because it's already there, but you just haven't been exposed to it. And there's so many informations that I still don't understand. I can read some books, and then after a while, if the book is the English, for example, if it's too hard, I can't. But I know if in a couple of years I get back to that book, oh, those words make so much more sense. But now, let's say you read a book and you understand everything, right? Oh. You read it again 5 years later. Oh, that's what he meant here. Because life taught you some stuff during that time that you were not exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say you read it 10 years later. Oh man, that story is so amazing. That's exactly what happened to me last year, you know?
Yeah.
So depending on where you're at, if you watch the same movie, you might not feel it the same way. And it's the same with music. Like I said, everything is connected, right? So I don't get frustrated at all, because the first time I had oysters, I hated it. Second time, I was like, I love it. Third time, I was allergic. You know? So it just takes a while to realize certain things, and other things are just not going to happen at all. You're allergic, you can't eat it, that's it. But if it's open, you can eat as much as you want, manipulate it, learn. That's beautiful, man. You don't need to rush anything, because it's there for as long as you're here, you know, for you.
Yeah.
So I would only get frustrated if there was nothing to dig for. That would be awful. Can you imagine? That's why a lot of people don't understand jazz, because there's so much to dig for. And it's important to look at the roots of this music to understand it and to feel it. You know? Because if you haven't been to church, gospel church, how much do you really like gospel? But how much do you really understand what this drummer is playing on this, because he comes from playing at church? Oh, but what Justin played that day with Kurt really touched me, because he was in a kind of a trance. But I'd never seen anybody in a trance playing music before. And that comes from playing at church, because you can't really let go when you play those gigs, because I don't think he's playing for him or for anybody. He's just playing for God in his mind, you know?
Yeah.
So when you're playing for a different reason, you're able to really let go of any ego thing. And that day I thought, yeah, anytime your mind comes in the way, then it's going to be wrong.
Yeah.
You just have to be able to deliver what you have to say without thinking, I'm going to say this because it's going to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I never talk to people thinking I'm going to say that because they're going to really like that. I'm just thinking, what can I say that is a little less not true, a little more true?
Yeah.
It's just so much fun to just discover and then spread whatever you learn, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's the same in music. You discover things that you think you discover, but not really. If you're aware that you're not discovering anything, then you stop being frustrated and you just take the information and personalize it. I think, yeah, that's the beauty of being a human. You can change so much and learn so much and simulate things I didn't speak English like that 6 years ago. And in 6 years, I'll probably listen to that and say, wow, I can speak so much better now. But does that matter? No, because my message, I'm able to express it. I was frustrated at the beginning when I couldn't express what I felt in English.
Yeah.
And on drums. Because I was playing something, tempo was like going down, people were pissed at me, and I didn't understand what was going on. Why are you pissed? You know? Like a trumpet player one day, he stopped playing the song and he turned around and was like, fuck you, man. I was like, wow, why? That was in Philly, you know? And then he came up to me in the middle of the crowd. Like, yeah, you didn't give me anything, man. Fuck you. That was so lame. Oh. Maybe because I was too much in my own head trying to practice on stage instead of playing with what he was doing.
Yeah.
So it's just important to be present in any situation. You know? Because when you're driving, if you close your eyes for 5 minutes, where are you after 5 minutes? So it's very important to be present.
Mm-hmm.
And to look at things just like it's the first time you've seen them. And to play like it's the first time you hear music. You know? I think it's just the way you should be with everything. Eat like it's the first time you eat. Wow. Not the last time. One of my teachers was telling me I play like it's the last time I'm going to play. But I think that's pretty sad. Because it makes you overplay, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the last time I have to make it count.
You have to say everything that you will ever want to say.
Right. But I'm trying to think about it like play like it's the first time you play. With all the joy and the discoveries or your discoveries, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I just try to look at things like it's the first time I see them all the time. And sometimes I forget and I remind myself. You have to remind yourself because learning is cool, but knowing is reminding yourself.
So this is a habit that you are intentionally and consciously reinforcing in your life all the time, that you want to stay mindful and have this attitude of curiosity and appreciation.
I'm saying that now because of the interview I was just watching before you got here. But basically that's why I'm trying to remind myself.
Yeah.
And that's why I was watching this interview actually to remind myself of the beauty of everything, you know?
Yeah.
Because if we lived in a world where people were just playing music, eating, and interacting in a nice way, you know, without the intent of taking something from somebody, taking money, making money, losing money, all that stuff is stressful because you gain, you lose, you gain, you lose. It comes and goes, right? Well, it would be easier for everybody to be able to enjoy everything we have because really not having anything, you just have so much already.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very important to be able to just share and remind yourself. But there's no such thing as a habit because I don't have any habits, you know. I moved maybe 10 times in 7 years. So there's no habit. It's just where are you within yourself? And I don't have any habit because every day I learn something that I can use and do differently. So I guess the trajectory is to get better at everything, right?
Yeah.
So, but a habit is something that you do unconsciously. Well, I'm trying to be conscious about everything I do, you know?
Okay.
So I'm trying to be conscious about reminding myself of the things that are important and meaningful. There's so many things that would bother me before, but now I'm just thinking, wait, we're all part of the same thing. So let this be cool.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Well,
Freelancing a little bit.
yeah, I guess, well,
I meant freestyling.
yeah. It's all great. When you've moved to all these new places, or I guess, and I felt this way moving to New Orleans, you do need to make some bread and eat. And in that sense, maybe I feel pressured to have to prove myself as a musician, so I'll get hired. And I think sometimes that can lead you to, even if you don't want to overplay and you don't want to let your ego get in the way, sometimes I feel pressured to prove myself, especially in a place where I don't know anyone and I want to appear legit or like a real musician who knows what's up, you know? Have you experienced that when you move to a new scene? And is that, or have you kind of let that go? And even if you're with musicians who you don't know, you don't feel the need to prove yourself like that?
Well, it's hard because before I moved here, I came back and forth between here and New York, you know, and then after a year, I moved here and I already had some work, which I'm very, very thankful for, but I also made the commitment, you know, because sometimes people would give me, for example, last year in November, somebody said, "Are you going to be here in November?" I said, I could be, but I was not living here. But he saw me and actually heard I was here and texted me, "Are you going to be here in November?" I have 3 gigs in a row, 200 a night. And I said, I'll fly here to do that. Because it made sense. But also, I did it. A lot of people would say, "No, I'm not going to be here." Or, "Yes, I'll be here." No, that doesn't pay enough. No, I just said, okay, I'll do it. And I found a cheap ticket. And I invested time here, you know? Mm-hmm. But not for me, but because I want to understand the scene, discover it, make connections, and learn, right? Because the people that are here now are not going to be here forever. And I'm not going to be here forever either. So I wanted that time to be enjoyable. So when you ask me if I'm pressured or stressed or anything, well, you need pressure to get things done sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Would you go out as much as you do if you didn't have to? I don't know. But doing it can be fun. So you have to find a way to, if you haven't. But for me, it was find a way to make it a positive experience.
Right.
And sometimes it's hard when you have to make a living and go out and learn and practice and study and cook and be nice and not be grumpy and not be stressed. It's not easy, but it's manageable. You know, there's another world where people don't have a choice and they just do their jobs, you know? I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So, you know, then you realize, oh, wait, I'm lucky to do this. Now, how do I manage to get better and have a stability, you know? Mm-hmm. But that just takes time.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of practice routine that you follow to make sure that with trying to keep up with all these different aspects of life that you're still growing and digging every day? And like some kind of consistency in how you go about doing that, maybe a specific warm-up hand routine or something, or...
Well, the consistency is I wake up every day, so that's good. Mm-hmm. But there's no such thing as a routine because we're musicians, not robots, you know? So you can't have a routine if you go to the gym try to get in shape, right? But music, there's so many things that count. So whenever I get up, I usually listen to James Brown when I get up, but that's been for the past 2 or 3 weeks. And that had changed every time because I just want some periods of my life to be in me at some point. Mm-hmm. So once I hear James Brown when I get up without having to listen to it, that means, okay, it's a part of me. Mm. So I listen to James Brown and I dance, for example, in the morning. Whenever I'm tired, I don't want to get up, I start dancing, all of a sudden everything feels great. I don't know why. So I started doing that recently. Get up, listen to James Brown and dance. Then
I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, do it. And then but it changes. It changes because then, I heard Rebirth last week and they played a song that I really liked. I posted it and somebody said, it's the song Give Me That Money. I didn't know, but my friend who listened to it knew. Mm. So I played that song on the speakers on repeat and danced to it. Because dancing to something just makes you assimilate it with your body rather than your mind. And the music is dance and it's vibrations, it's rhythm. But if you dance, all that is there, and sing the melody. We can do everything with our bodies. We're doing it with instruments, but the instruments imitate our bodies, So once you become conscious of that, then try to apply it to your life. So that's what I'm trying right now. In 2 years, maybe you ask me, I'll say, I play a little piano and I put a little cover on my head and drink a glass of wine. But right now, that's what I'm doing. Listening to James Brown in the morning and dancing. And listening to whatever song I heard the day before that I want to check out or learn that I didn't know. Like as soon as you hear a song that you don't know, ask what it is and learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Well,
it's hard to have a routine as a musician because in sports you can, because your body is not something that is artistic. I feel uninspired. No, your body is just your body. You train it.
Yeah.
But in music, it's an art. There's so many things so you just have to go with who you are. So if you're somebody who likes to practice 10 hours, great, but can you simplify and make those 10 hours in 1 hour? Like, can you just tell me which parts were useful and which parts were not? Mm-hmm. Because I can cook, but a chocolate cake doesn't take me more than 20 minutes. I can spend 6 hours doing it, but it's still a chocolate cake and it's not going to taste any different because I know how to make it. So when I practice, I try to take it from where I am. Just like when I go to the grocery store, what is fresh today? I try to see what's fresh in my mind. And it's usually what I heard the day before that comes out naturally. We have to disconnect from thinking, I'll take this book and practice those exercises. Because the guy who wrote the book wrote it a long time ago and he didn't hear what you heard last night. So that's why it's important to take your life. Because music comes from life, not from music, right?
Yeah.
So whatever you heard last night, let that inspire you today so you're more conscious of everything you're doing. Or something like the other day, there was a truck that went by and made a weird sound and the house shook and a rhythm came out of it like, and I was trying to play it.
Yeah.
But naturally. Mm-hmm. And then play with that and see where it leads. And now I have a problem. Okay, my flams are not good. Let's practice the flams. Or why am I thinking about this? Why do I have tension in my left leg? Let's practice that. Find exercises. Find ways to just, like Bruce Lee said, make everything intentional, but also disconnect from thinking about that.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
Because it's easy you're going to bed and you're thinking about, okay, tomorrow I'm going to practice this and I'm going to work on this standard. But I
don't really do that because
right,
I go to bed after I've practiced. So a lot of times I practice at night and I go to bed when I don't have anything in mind.
Right. Well, okay, the point I'm making is that it's easy to plan ahead of time what you're going to practice. But you're saying that you try to have an awareness of the moment and what you're feeling. So when you sit down, you can let what you need to practice kind of come to you. You can feel it out in the moment. Like, this is what's fresh in my mind. This is what I'm going to work on. And then you're also aware while you're practicing so that when you feel tension or you come across something you're playing that's not happening how you want it to, you can address it and then just work on it then.
Yeah. I mean, as much as you'd like to predict the future, there's no such thing, So if let's say you're flying to New York today at 6 p.m. and you say, I'll leave at 4, plenty of time, right? Mm-hmm. You get there at 5. There was a little bit of traffic. And then you realize once you're there, oh, I forgot my cymbals. You have to go back home, but then you miss your flight, right? So why think about everything you have to do later rather than just thinking, okay, I need to go there. I'm going to try to be early and I need my cymbals. And they're right here. All right, I'm on my way now. Just think about now. Know where you're going, right? But think about what you're dealing with now. Otherwise, you're going to forget a lot of stuff. You're not going to see the actual things you need to do. So, or the flight can be delayed. Oh, why did I get here 3 hours early? Now it's in 3 more hours, 6 hours. Just deal with the things that are happening. And if there's delay, that's how it is, But a lot of people say, oh, delays, why? It's better than crash, Mm-hmm. Be delayed, it's cool. Take your time. So, yeah, dealing with what's happening is very important. With everything. Otherwise, you just get frustrated and tense. So I don't have a practice routine. I don't have a map of what I do. And I used to, because I needed to be organized at some point. But then I realized being disorganized is the way I'm organized, because I'm able to see through this, Like with cooking, I just put everything on the table. I'm like, what do I want to make? Main ingredient. Okay, cool. I'm going to work on my left end. How? Olive oil, butter, okay, with this exercise, I'm going to try this. Okay, well, I'm not getting anywhere, so I'm trying something else.
Yeah.
But you just have to try. Otherwise, you're a robot, and that's not fun to watch, Mm-hmm. Anytime I see Shannon Powell, for example, you don't know what's going to happen. Neither does he. But you're going to be happy after you hear him play or sing,
Yeah.
So that's all I want. Is just people to not expect anything and to feel something. That's all. So I try to approach the practice the same way that I want to play. What am I going to do? I don't know. Right? Do I want to know everything I'm going to play before I do? Not really. And do I know everything I'm going to say before I talk in this mic? Not really either. But that's a good way to approach it, because then you can be focused on the message and not anything else that gets in the way of you trying to deliver something that actually, it's not really working. Just try. Like I'm trying right now. Most of the things I'm saying, I'm going to be thinking, it's too long. So simplify. I could give you a short answer. Simplify. And see what's going on with your body and your mind.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. I'm curious if there's anything just on the the general topic of being a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled musician, you know, if there's any struggles that you've faced, obstacles that you've overcome that you like to share, we can touch on those now, or we can move on to like the 5 short answer questions that I sent you.
Right.
But if there's anything that comes to mind, I'd love to hit it while we're here.
Anything that comes to mind, man. I just think you need to travel as much as you can and like be curious. Not just travel physically, travel in your mind too. You know, in the music, but also go check out other cultures. Because anytime you come back, you realize, oh, okay, don't stay on one scene. You know, that's what I was saying when I posted. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah,
it's very important to just be open and check out everything. And just know that everywhere is the right place. You know, it's just important to go everywhere and check out. There's no such thing as a better place than here or a worse place. Everything, everywhere can inspire you, you know? And it's important to connect. All that same thing. It's just one planet,
right?
You know, divided in countries. But once you don't see those limitations, then just explore. You know, because I realized being here that New Orleans music is connected to Brazilian music, and now I'm understanding things that Duduca da Fonseca told me a couple of years ago. So I was listening to my lesson with him and thinking, oh, that's so connected to what I'm living now here in New Orleans, which is also connected to Cuban music. And it's just, the more you dig, the more you find, and the more you find, the more there's things to dig for, you know? So just don't be frustrated at the lack of options, because there's so many more.
Yeah.
You know? And don't just learn one style, because this music comes from all the styles, you know? So be open-minded, but you're cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Why don't we hit these short answer questions?
It's going to be very short.
Cool. All right. Coda question time. Zach, what is your go-to feel-good album?
Oh, yeah. I remember you asked me that. Trying to be quick.
So far, very few people have actually been quick about it. But that's okay.
Yeah, because I try to think about it, but I like music that I don't know about.
Okay.
So, this morning, Jelly Roll Morton, and the album was his live with his Red Hot Peppers. But that's for this morning, because I didn't know this album. And it made me feel great. But it will be something else tomorrow, but that's the one for today.
Okay. I like that. It's the one you haven't heard yet. Who's the musician that you've met in your life that you think embodies a happy, healthy, and fulfilled musician the most?
Well, so many. But the latest one, Shannon Powell, I would say that's the latest. Or Gerald French, super happy too. A lot of drummers in New Orleans are very happy. Herlin Riley.
Yeah.
But I saw Shannon last night, so I would say Shannon.
Cool.
Is the latest version of a happy musician, but there's so many.
Right. Absolutely. What's the best advice that you've received about being happy in your life?
Ralph Peterson told me, be the example you're looking for.
Perfect.
And that worked.
Yeah. What advice would you give to a young musician who's just starting their career?
Careers don't exist. That's what I'd say. you're in it or you're not, you know. But it's a life. It's not a career.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is your purpose as a musician?
It's just to learn and communicate and bring joy to any situation. That's really what I like about Steve Jordan's interview. Just bring the joy. You know, you can go to any country, play with anyone just because you're a musician. With anyone. You don't speak the language, boom, you have your instrument, we understand each other.
Yeah.
And that brings joy if you're able to listen and communicate with that. And that's once you realize, oh, because if you only play in the States, you don't realize that. But once you go outside of the States, you go to China, you're alone, you don't speak Chinese, you go to that jam session and you start playing with them, you're like, oh, I can, you know, wow. And you're like, whoa, thanks, guys. Well, oh, wow. How do you, I don't know how to say thanks. Shishi. Oh, okay. You know?
Yeah.
So it's very, it's amazing, you know?
Absolutely.
So it's very important to realize you have a gift already of being able to communicate with anyone in the world, anywhere.
For sure.
But you have to travel to realize that.
Well, cool, man. No, it's all amazing.
Thank you.
If you want, you can take a second to plug anything, any upcoming projects or places online you'd like to send people where they can hear more of your stuff, or places they can find you. You're welcome to do that.
Find me in real life, guys.
Perfect. All right. Thanks for being here, man. It was amazing.
Oh, thanks for coming to my house, man.
Oh, man. So cool. That does it for this episode of the Happy Musicians Podcast. Right now, you're listening to Zach throw down in a YouTube video that's live at time with saxophonist Emmanuel Wilkins, bassist Alex Delcourt, the guitarist Jake Kelberman, and percussionist Shakur Sanders. Thank you so much for your time and your attention and for listening to these. I hope you're getting value out of them, and if you are, and you'd like to help us out, there are so many ways you can support us. First of all, you can subscribe to the channel. You can follow us on Instagram at The Happy Musicians, and you can use our hashtag Happy Musicians on your posts if you plan, and we'll share them. You can go to our website if you want to get more information and get in touch with us. That's thehappymusicians.com. And of course, you can tell your friends about it and share this message of positivity with the other musicians in your life. Thank you for being here, and stay happy.